Hi, my name is Carolina, and thank you for attending this virtual event organized by Word Up Community Bookshop. During this event, feel free to add comments in the chat panel, which you can access by clicking the chat button at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions, please click on the Q&A button and put the questions there so they don't get lost. And if you're on YouTube, you can also comment on there and we'll bring it into the chat on Zoom. So if you don't know Word Up, we're a bookstore and art space run by local residents, many of whom are volunteers. We started off as a 1 month long pop-up shop in 2011, then stuck around due to overwhelming community demand. And this past June, we actually celebrated our 11th birthday. We can be found at 2113 Amsterdam Avenue at the corner of 165th Street in Washington Heights, New York City. We host events for all ages and sell used and new books in English and Spanish. Check us out at wordupbooks.com to shop and see other virtual and outdoor events that we're having. And I'm very excited that we're here today to celebrate the virtual launch of Bad at Love. Oh no, you can't see it. That's okay. So I'm gonna pass it off to Axie and Gabriela to start the event.
Yay! I'm so excited. Oh my gosh.
Super excited. Thank you so much, Axie, for coming today. This is the coolest. I'm very, very excited that we can be here. And I cannot thank you all enough for being here with us today. Thank you so much. This is my sophomore book. I know that a lot of you also came for my debut. And now it's time for Bad at Love, my sophomore out today.
Oh my gosh.
Ay, ay, todo mundo, ustedes lindos. Okay.
Oh my gosh. What time is it? You're in Brazil, right? What time is it over there?
Yes, I'm in Brazil. We are only 1 hour ahead, so okay. It's 7:34. What part of the US are you in?
I'm in Las Vegas, which is in Pacific, so it's 3:30.
Oh yeah, that's on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's okay. So that's near where this took place.
Yeah. I love Los Angeles. So it was like really fun to read this because I was like, oh, I recognize all these spots because I go there like, I haven't gone to those spots specifically, but I've been to Los Angeles like a ton. Yeah.
That's so cool. I have never actually been to Los Angeles.
Oh my God. I'm gonna have to ask you later then. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who is from Los Angeles, and she basically gave me like the rundown of like the best places to go on a date, the worst places. I've used mostly the worst places, but yes. So yeah, it was great having someone be able to tell me about all those places. I've only ever been to the other coast of the United States, like New York, Florida, New Jersey, and all that.
Ooh, I'm originally from New Jersey, so
Really, I have family in New Jersey, in Newark.
Maybe they're friends. Okay, so I just wanted to ask you, so how do you feel having your second novel out in the world?
Very happy. Like, you ever get the feeling that you're like, I can't believe they're letting me get away with it again?
Yeah.
Because like it was for a very long time, it was very difficult for people like me, people like us to get our books published, right? When we are unabashedly speaking about our cultures. And there's the fact that I'm queer as well, and my stories feature queer characters. So I have received a lot of, this is kind of too much feedback from a lot of, like, especially magazine publishers before. So the fact that I am publishing my second book, it's really wild. I'm very happy. I'm very thankful. And I hope that one day I'll be celebrating my 20th published book.
Ooh, yes. And I'll be there to celebrate with you. I'll be there reading it, your fan. Okay. Can you tell some of the readers what Bad at Love is about?
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. So Bad at Love is basically how to lose a guy in 10 days, but make it YA. Basically, we have these two people. I am amazing at summaries, you can tell, right? I'm already like, so give me some confidence, like run with me. His name is Daniel. He is Brazilian from Curitiba. He was born and raised in Brazil, and then he got the chance to audition for a reality music show. So he went to the United States. He ended up joining this band, Mischief and Mayhem, and all of this is background information because really the place where he's at right now, he's already like kind of like an established sub-celebrity. He goes by Rotten, which is this it's how the media calls him, the tabloids, because he has such a bad boy reputation. And then we have Sasha, who hates bad boys actually. She has all of this background to, vilify bad boys. And this is the summer before her senior year of high school. She's interning in this magazine that's basically a tabloid selling pictures and stuff. And she gets offered a chance to get a scholarship for college, which basically is the only way she could go to college. The trick is she has to find dirt on the worst bad boy of Los Angeles. And meanwhile, he gets a little bit of incentive to date her as well, because he gets on a bet with his bandmates. So the only song that he made that he has a part on will be part of their album if he wins the bet, which is to stay with her for all of the summer. So their agendas are very conflicting. And actually, I would love to read a little part of it, if that's okay.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this is after they've met for the first time. It's part of chapter 4, page 29. This is Sasha's POV, by the way. My headphones go quiet in the seconds when one song fades and the next one has yet to begin. Just as I'm about to open the door to the diner, a hooded figure bumps into me and murmurs an awkward apology. There's a pause as he stumbles back and I take him in. A big green jacket, like he's coming from Norway or something, a black cap, and dark sunglasses. Same sunglasses as before, and I recognize the lips. Okay, so I know how that sounds, and that's not what I mean. I didn't stare at his lips, not then, not now. But there's a contrast between his pale skin and the pink of his lips that I can't help but notice. The shy beginning of a stubble across his jawline. I stay planted where I am and look up at the sky again. Is this supposed to be my sign? Rotten looks at me again, this time really taking me in too, and then he smiles. Oh, it's you. Because he's so full of himself, he usually never smiles to the camera, even on red carpets and during promo shoots. Rotten always looks serious, chin slightly tilted up. It was his closed off and arrogant demeanor on making music that actually started his bad boy reputation. I remember because I caught a few episodes with Mom. So his smile now feels eerily intimate. I take a step back. Rotten takes off his sunglasses, staring at me with those ridiculously long eyelashes. Ugly he is not. We met at that I remember. I cut him off. Is he stalking me? I guess this is as good sign as any. Now I don't have to plot to find him. He's found me. Rotten plays with the sunglasses in his hands as he says, I'm sorry if this is awkward, but I came looking for you. My friend helped. He stops, looks at me. To give you your jacket back? I look at him. My jacket is nowhere in sight. I mean, that's what I wanted, and to say sorry that there were pictures of us online. Okay, maybe he's kind of nice after all. I start to smile, but he quickly adds, I wish I could always apologize for the trouble it causes girls when they get caught on camera with me. So much for niceness. He's talking slowly and deliberately, like he's being recorded, putting on a show. It's weird. Then again, he's weird. He's also really cute, I note once again, as he bites back a smile. Here's your jacket. He pulls his backpack to his front. I stare at his big hands as he unzips the pack and then hands me the jacket perfectly folded. Our hands almost touch when I grab my until then forgotten piece of clothing and he looks away. Get a grip, Sasha. You're smarter than this. He's trying to get you with his fake kindness and these smiles. You've read all about it in the tabloids before. He's nothing but a player. Lloyd's offer is still fresh in my mind, not to mention what's at stake if I take it. Cool, now I'm starting to feel sick. Rotten adds, looking earnest. You don't have to accept my apologies, but I'd love it if you said something. He chuckles. Oh my God, is he nervous? He's not nervous. He's pretending to be nervous. He's an artist. They're all actors to some extent. I frowned, sizing him up. He's probably used 1,000 girls before. If I use him for my personal gain too, then he had it coming. I smile, an ear-to-ear smile. Apology accepted, but only if you buy me some ice cream. Rotten takes his wallet from his immense jacket. I don't realize he's going through his cash until he offers me a $20 bill. I stare at it. This won't do? He asks, seeming worried. Then he fishes out his wallet again. What in the hell? I touch his arm so he'll stop, and he freezes. Maybe he wasn't expecting me to touch him. Maybe he doesn't like it when people touch him without warning him first. I take my hand back and clear my throat. I wasn't asking for money. That's really weird. But I don't say that. I shake my head. I meant we could have ice cream together. Rotten coughs. Oh, yes. Okay, yeah, yes. I pretend I didn't notice that, whatever that was. I have to work now, but you could pick me up at 7:30 when my shift ends. We could go somewhere else for ice cream. I'm Sasha, by the way. Rotten offers me another smile, almost shy this time. He has a gap between his front teeth. It's really adorable. He nods. I'll be back then, Sasha, he says, and puts his glasses back on. I'm counting on it, I say, pretending to be totally cool and not someone who's just started their descent into being a Walmart bin-level movie villain.
Oh my gosh. If I had my sound, you'd hear me laughing. Oh my gosh, that was so good. I love that scene.
Me too. It's their first scene back after, their encounter. And I love it because I love writing Sasha's inner monologues. And you may have realized by now that he's not like really a bad boy. He's very awkward. It's all like a media misunderstanding. The tabloids don't get him. He's very shy. I love as Sasha slowly starts to discover who he really is and that he's not at all the person that media has painted him to be. Like, God, he's so embarrassing. He reminds me of myself when I was 17.
It's so great too, because you get the dual point of views. Like, it's funny how she's saying, oh, he's doing all this for, because he gets all the ladies, and you go to his point of view and he's like, so he's so awkward and sweet and such a soft person.
Panicky, so yeah.
Did you have a fun, like when you were writing the book, did you like write it linearly, like back and forth, and then you were kind of like, so you could know the voices of your characters really well?
I cannot write if it's not linearly. I admire people who do. Like, you are all champions. Me, I can't. I am not that smart. I have to write it like in the order it happens. But I did have like an outline where like which scenes would happen, and then I had to decide where to cut the chapters so it would show so it would change who was the person narrating it. So a lot of the rewriting I did actually in this book was for that. Some scenes it would be funnier if it was one or the other narrating it. That's what changed mostly, actually. Like the book itself didn't change that much, but the who narrated each part did a bit.
It's so cute. Your kitty is walking back and forth behind you.
Siemens, she always needs to be the star. She's like, no, this is my show. This is my Siemens. She's playing with her pet rat. And I don't know where she put it, but she'll be here.
I'm integral to this. I'm integral to your writing process.
I wanted to show you this that my mom got me. It's really cute, right? It's a love songs, like water bottle. Thanks, Mom. Obrigada, mamãe. Te amo.
Speaking of like family, I loved so it's Danielle, you said? his sister. She was such a fun character in the book too. Was it fun creating like the whole like the characters who surround, because you with him you have his sister, then you also have all of his bandmates. It was like really fun to create like these characters around.
So much fun. So I'll say it right now, if you were up to me, I would write one book for each of those characters. I love them. I love his sister. She's a little older, so she's not really for YA, but I enjoyed, I don't know if you feel this way as well, but sometimes when you're writing, you just spend so much time thinking about your, seriously, just hold up.
She's
Yeah.
like, no,
Go down,
talk more about, let's go back to me.
yeah. She's like, what are you doing? Why are you talking to our computer? That's like so stupid. So yeah, I don't know if you feel this too, but when you're writing your books, you just feel so compelled to your secondary characters. Yeah. And you're like, but I wanted to also tell their stories. I tried like to not do this, but I have so many feelings for secondary characters. A lot of the scenes cut are just scenes that didn't serve the plot at all, and it was just like them hanging out, you know, with their friends, with Danielle and his sister, just like hanging out. And then my agent or my editor will be like, how does this move the plot or further characterization? I'm like, okay, sorry, I know I have to cut. Control Alt, delete.
That's going to be bonus content. You can put it up. You can put that up.
Right. There's always a use for that. Yes, absolutely.
Like with the bandmates, like, cause, well, for the audience, you and I bonded over K-pop. So one of the things I really loved about this book,
So this is for the whole world to see. It's Kai, yeah. I am embarrassingly into EXO.
You know, that's not embarrassing. That's just
you haven't seen my wall actually. Like you can only see the Hulk. That's strategically placed. Everything from the Hulk here, it's all K-pop. It's
so does that mean that your Korean American character is based off of Kai?
No, but I should write a character that's based off him. That's, you actually just given me like a great idea, but perhaps it should be adult.
Oh my gosh, I would read that.
I am so sorry for anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about. It's an artist. It's
we're talking craft. This is craft. This is writing.
Yeah. Yes, you're so right. This is craft. Yes.
But there's a question here, because Mr. Mayhem is based, or is like kind of like an X Factor kind of thing, right? Like the characters were based were on a TV show, and then their acts were like put together, right? Or they were created by the TV
No, they were like Penny, Wade, and Jesus Christ.
It's been a while since you wrote the book.
And the other guy who I also enjoy a lot, but also it's Sam. Okay. Penny, Wade, and Sam, they were friends since like middle school.
Oh yeah.
And then Danielle is like the outsider who joins them.
Yeah. So so what was like your inspiration for like the whole the music element for it?
So I grew up, even though like we were talking about K-pop just a second ago, I actually grew up with punk rock and pop punk. So, you know, although my mom raised me on like Sex Pistols, the bands that I looked up to a lot when I was a teenager were more like Sum 41 and Simple Plan and They Used and My Chemical Romance and Paramore and, you know, all of those. So like if you, I don't know if this still exists, probably not. If it exists, not with these bands, but there was this tour when I was a teenager called the Warped Tour, that all of these bands, they would go on tour together. And then like so much would happen. It would be like if Twitter existed back then, they would, the party wouldn't exist. Okay, it's because, yeah, it was very intense. There were a lot of pictures of artists doing very illicit things. I'm not even talking about drugs. That was like the least of their problems. And they would have uploaded these things themselves on MySpace. If you're too young for MySpace,
MySpace.
that was like, yeah, that was Facebook before, like so much, like before.
That's during AOL.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So because they had these profiles on MySpace, so imagine like what your favorite artist posts on like Instagram stories. But imagine if you were on their close friends list, because none of them were that, like, they were famous, but they were not famous enough that they would get in trouble for, you know, sleeping with each other and talking about that publicly. So the fans were always like, we kind of felt like we knew them because we exchanged messages with them. And I remember on my birthday one day, I sent my favorite band a DM, like a message, and I was like, "Hi, it's my birthday, call me." And they were like, "Okay, what's your number?"
Ooh, oh
and
my
like,
God.
They called me, and it was, I will save their already not very good reputation by not saying who they were, but they were not very famous. You probably don't know them, but like they called me drunk and started singing like happy birthday. So this was the kind of relationship, right, that we had with those bands. All of this to say, I wanted to capture that fun, Peter Pan-esque energy of like being high on music and so connected all the time, because one of the things that made those bands so cool was that they were together 24/7. I love that. I love that so much. Okay, yes, fair. Another cameo. They had been together like since they were kids, right? So that's part of what made them so much fun. And I wanted to explore what would happen if you had a band like that with those three people, and then an outsider comes and joins, and he's like, "Hi," you know, like he wants to be part of the group, but also, you know, he's from a different nationality. He doesn't feel super confident with the language. And when you see people that are in that connected in that level with each other, it can be very intimidating to approach that. So the idea actually started with the band. Everything that happened like around it. I really wanted to capture the fun that I felt watching those music videos, listening to that music, those loud drums and guitar and screaming, leading vocal, that it wasn't necessarily about talent, it was about feeling. And yeah, I still love those bands, even though, you know, like so much has changed. But I still love that nostalgia and yeah, Warped Tour feelings.
I love that so much. I love when we can put like things that we loved when we were younger into our like teen novels, because obviously I do that too with XOXO. It's like even though like EXO, the K-pop idol group, is popular now, growing up my groups were all first generation idol groups. I don't know if you know any of those, like HOT, God. They're like these older K-pop groups.
Is Big Bang first generation or second?
So actually Big Bang is my generation. That's the second generation. Okay. But like BTS is third generation. I think we're on fourth generation now.
Boa is first generation, isn't she?
Boa is like, yeah, she's like on the cusp. She's like first or second generation.
Because she was my first love. She was like my sapphic awakening when I was in.
I love her. Yeah, I love, she's like a similar age to me. And so like when she debuted, she was like 13 and I was like, I don't know, also 13. And I was like, I'm obsessed with you. I want to be you now.
I didn't want to be her. I wanted to be with her.
Yeah.
I wanted her to be like, I remember when Ichi Up came out. You remember?
Yes. That's like her first English song. Yeah.
Yes. So that's like how it was like the first song I could sing. And I remember just like I think I still had dialed internet back then. And I would wait for the weekend so I could watch the music video again and again, and then like illegally downloaded the music video so I wouldn't
Like
have to go online to
Napster.
watch it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We had like, what was it? I think it was like Lime, something like that. And yeah, so yeah, she has my heart.
I know, it's like that's one of the awesome things about writing YA is that we can like sort of, you know, embrace those feelings from when we were younger.
Yeah, that's the best thing, like making it relevant for like nowadays, right? Because obviously if I wrote a novel that took place around that time and I talked about MySpace, I don't think it would
be a historical novel.
Exactly, right. It would be, oh God, it would be a historical novel. Yeah. But yeah, it wouldn't, I don't think it would resonate as much because there's a lot that changes over time. Like, for example, it was so much fun. Like, for example, what I said about there being no consequences to the stuff they did, that was because the news didn't travel as fast online. Like their managers, their labels, they had no idea any of that was happening.
Yeah.
And even in the among the fans, there was this mentality of like, don't tell anyone. You know, like don't share these private pictures that they posted online for the world to see. Like, you know, of like, let's protect this like bubble. And that would never be replicated today. So it might be difficult to write a novel and have it be successful for a public that wasn't born into that, who didn't grow up with that. So I find it very exciting when we can do that, when we can practice that, me and you. We take these things that we grew up with that were in a very different context and adapt it to hopefully be relevant for a newer generation, because ultimately we're writing for kids, right?
And like it's cool because that the whole plot, like one of the big plot points of Bad at Love is that Sasha is a tabloid writer, so she's trying to get the scoop on Danielle to publish it, because that's like, you know, that's like a thing that happens now.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's like the How to Lose the Guy in 10 Days sort of element too.
And that would never happen like 15 years ago if you were a teen. Like if you want to write a story about like a musician or something, you gotta have a degree for that. Like you have to be properly employed at a magazine, you know. But now everyone can report things if they have something to say, you know. So that's very cool too. I would have loved having access to that much, to the exploration of journalism when I was a teen, because that was my first choice for work. I wanted to be a journalist.
Ooh. But now tell me more about that. Did you do like, so you, when you were writing Sasha's character, did you already have a lot, like you already knew a lot what it is to be a journalist, because that's something you wanted to do? Like, or did you have to do more research?
I went to college for journalism. I dropped out eventually because I figured out I liked teaching more, but I did 3 semesters of journalism. And I actually wanted to do what Sasha dreams to do. I wanted to be a music journalist. I wanted to write pieces about music and how music made me feel. You may have noticed there's a common thread there that I kind of feel strongly about music. So I wanted to do that. And we had to write these scoops in college that obviously weren't getting published, but you know, for practice and in certain classes. And I loved doing that. My favorite ones were like narrative essays, which is basically what she ends up writing. Spoiler, maybe. I didn't say what she does with it. She writes it.
She's a journalist. She's gotta write at some point.
Right. So yeah, which is basically like when you tell news, but as if you were telling a story. So that was like my favorite type of article, and I've always loved that so much. Actually, the thing that I had to do most research for this book was Los Angeles. Because I had never been. I was like, what time does the sun set in Los Angeles? Because it's different. I live like several time zones away.
Yeah.
But luckily, I've had friends from the area help me with that.
I know. I set XOXO's like the beginning is set in Los Angeles, and I said it in the only area, I mean, like the area of Los Angeles I know the best, which is Koreatown, because like, okay, that's where we go. That's the only place we ever go because we want to go eat kalbi. We want to eat at this one restaurant. So we'll drive from Vegas like 4 hours.
I've heard it's delicious. Everything is delicious there, according to my friends.
Yeah. So when you were writing your book for like set in Los Angeles, is there a reason why you set in LA, or were you just like LA?
Yeah,
New
just
York,
because it's like a hub for the music business in the United States. Like with like a love song, there were parts of it in LA, but it was super brief because the biggest chunks of it took part. I think the most part of the third act is in Portugal, and then there's like some traveling back and forth. Actually, because when I wrote like a love song, I had just returned from Portugal, so I was like, I want to write about this place and food. But I don't want to write a book about all of this. I just want to like little, you know. Yeah. But I definitely want to go to Los Angeles, specifically to the places where they go on dates and just like take pictures and be like, my characters have been here, yay, you know. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm like so happy that we can travel now. And I was like, I like kind of vicariously lived through your travels, because you went to Seoul like a couple months ago, right?
Yeah, I spent like the end of May and most of June in Korea, and it was just everything. It was perfect.
Do you because you said that you went to Portugal and then that's why you wrote like a love song, like, or the part of like a love song when they go to Portugal, you put that in the book. Do you travel for research, or travel and then that inspires you, or both?
I definitely travel and then it inspires me.
Yeah.
Like show me that friend we have in common who lives in Seoul. She's been talking about me so much. She's been like, I want you to write a love story in Seoul. Please write a love story in Seoul. Please write. She's like, but what would happen if a Brazilian came to Seoul? So, it's not going to be my next book because I already have some stuff that's hopefully coming at some point. But I might still write that because, it's when we are traveling, of course, that there are so many beautiful, wonderful things that we see and inspire us, and just like it ignites, that fire of possibility. So it's big privilege. I am very happy as well that we are able to travel again.
Yeah, I definitely, I'm drafting a book now, and I got stuck at a part and I was like, oh, what have I done before? Like, I just like thought, I was like, that was how I inspired myself. I was like, what are experiences I've already had? Oh, okay. And I'll put, and that helped me like, I don't know, set a scene or something. So I think just like traveling, seeing those things is really, it's really, a special privilege, like you said. So yeah, I like that. Carolina asks, what's your next book?
So it's not going to be out for a while because it hasn't even sold, because it hasn't even gone on sub yet. But what I hope to be my next book, it's with my agent. We are revising it. It's basically Percy Jackson with Brazilian folklore and a girl gang. So it's a story I wrote for my mom. so the main character is named after my mom and her best friends when she was a kid. So she's 12 years old, and she's the chosen one. So she gets approached by these supernatural deities. If you are Brazilian, you will know Saci and Curupira. Those are the two that come to her. And yes, I grew up with a crush on Saci. Why are you asking? So they approach her and they're like, look, you're the chosen one. You need to save us because there's something is out there and it's killing us. And like, there are obvious effects on the world, because we protect certain aspects of nature and blah blah blah. Because in Brazilian folklore, I'm sure that's true for every culture, our folklore deities, they are protectors of different aspects of nature, blah blah blah. And then she's like, no. And then they're like, no, but like, you gotta, because saving the world. And she's so uninterested until she realizes she can actually use the deities to fulfill her own agenda, which is she lost her best friend. Her best friend has passed away in an accident, and one of the deities, Caipora, she has the power to bring anything back. So she's like, okay, I guess I might save you all if you give me like this one little thing. And then the story happens from there. So it's a girl gang with a ghost she's also part of.
Oh my gosh, that sounds, I love middle grade. My first love is middle grade, so I'm gonna read that.
I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it.
I love how she's also like, I'm gonna make a deal with this God. Like, I'm not just gonna save the world for like any other reason. I need.
Yeah, no, she's like, I have so many more pressing things to do. Like, did you see how badly I did in my math exam last week? God, I don't have time. Yeah, right. That story is very, very dear to my heart because I wrote it for my mom, but also because I wrote about all the creatures I grew up listening about and watching cartoons about, and having lullabies to scare us be sung. It's just a real big privilege to be able to write about our culture like this, and I really hope it makes it to bookshelves one day soon.
Well, it will. But I have a question, because I saw that in like basically a week, you have another book coming out, anthology. You have a short story in an anthology, Our Shadows Have Claws.
Yes, there.
That's also like speculative, right? That's like.
Yeah. I wrote a YA horror story with sapphic girls, and they are fighting a Brazilian monster that also exists in this world, but he doesn't appear in the book, but he's mentioned, which is the Corpo Seco. And the reason he's not on my middle grade, but he is in this horror short story, is that he's too creepy for a middle grade, I think. So the story that goes about Corpo Seco, the legend, is that there was once a man who was so evil that when he died, the devil didn't want him, and then the earth spat him back. So he just wanders around, his body decomposing and doing even more evil things. Wow. And my protagonist in the short story Bloodstained Hands Like Yours, she
I love that title.
Thank you. She's in a position of homelessness, and she realizes that Corpo Seco has been killing her buddies, and she decides that she's gonna take him on and she's gonna end him. And then things happen. I mean, it's a horror story, but I loved writing it. I was so great, and there are so many beautiful, beautiful stories there. What I love so much about this anthology is precisely what we were talking about before, that it really feels like Latin America. There are so many tales that are so specific to our cultures. So that was a beautiful project to participate on.
Oh, I'm so excited. Is next month Latin American History Month, or here in the US? I think it is, or it's coming up.
September 6th.
September. Oh, the book is coming out in
September 6th.
September, yeah. Oh,
Yes.
excited.
Yes. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. I had a lot of fun, and the stories are all great. Truly cannot pick a favorite. They are very, very good.
Ooh. Oh gosh. Okay, so I don't know if our question box is disabled or not, but if it is not, you can put questions in our Q&A box. But
yes.
Please
do.
And either if that's not working, you can put them in the chat too. If you have any questions for Gabi, yay.
Yes, please ask me questions. You are allowed to. Okay, we already have one, I think.
Oh, ooh, wait. How come I'm not seeing them?
Oh, it's in the chat.
Oh, it's in the chat. Ooh. Yeah. Okay, so Gabi, this is from Adriana Fullman from YouTube. Okay, what do you do when you have any creative block while writing?
So now what I do is I take my laptop and I go to the living room. And this is a privilege because I have a laptop. I just really need a change of scenery, even if it's as small as leaving this place and going to that place. I just need a change of scenery. But before I had my laptop, when I only had my desktop, something I would do, and I know this sounds very silly, but stay with me. I would try to make like a change in my space. So I would turn off the light, try to write in the dark, or but with like the light from the computer, so it wouldn't be all dark, or like open the window, or like literally anything I would put on hats.
Ooh.
Like, literal hats. I know it's so silly, but
that's not silly. But do you have hats for different things, like a
No. I just that's like way cooler than the reality. I just needed like a change of something, because I reckon the best option actually when you have writer's block is to go out and walk. Mm-hmm. But I live in an avenue, so like lots and lots of cars. Mm-hmm. So it's not that safe.
You need to pay attention. You can't just walk without like
to just be like so maybe if I move, then that's going to be something I can actually do. But for now, I go to the living room. It really works. How about you, Axie?
Yeah, I like that advice too, like just changing up your space. When you mentioned like writing in the dark, I actually will write night scenes at night, like scenes that take place at night in my book at night, and scenes that take place at day during the day. I try
You're so weird. I love that.
Yeah.
Like there's not a single author that's like that gives like a totally normal response.
Oh, I don't even know what's a normal response to that question.
I don't know, because we are literally like trying to make our brains create fictional scenarios, right? So it's a pretty weird profession, I think. In general, we're good.
Oh my gosh, Lafise says she hangs her head off the bed.
That's amazing. That's incredible.
I'm gonna try that one. Okay, we have another question. It says from Sophia Soter, you talked a bit about traveling and the cities featured in your books. What Brazilian cities would you like to set some future books in?
Well, my middle grade that I told you all about, it's set in Canoas. And if you are Brazilian, you will probably think that's very funny, because Canoas is my hometown. But how can I say this? Okay, so Canoas is to Porto Alegre how Newark is to New York.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that because I'm originally from New Jersey.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to make this accessible to Americans.
I don't know if everyone understands that, but I specifically do.
Yeah. So I'm from Canoas, but I have worked most of my life in Porto Alegre. So a lot of my friends are from Porto Alegre as well. And like, okay, we get it. Porto Alegre is the capital. we get it, but I am from Canoas. Let me, shine some light on some Canoas touristic attractions. There are none, but I will write about our pink shopping mall until I die. Answering Sophia's, actually, Our Shadows Have Claws, my story in Our Shadows Have Claws is in Porto Alegre. It is in Centro Histórico, that's like the historical center of Porto Alegre. That's where it's set. And I may or may not have a story that I don't know if, but if that happens, it's going to be set in Garopaba in Santa Catarina. So that's a beach town. That's a surfer town.
I love sea beach settings. So
we'll see if it
all these.
Oh, you like the sea?
So I'll love that book. Okay, so from YouTube, Mariana Schreiner asks, Gabi, how do you think your writing process has improved from your first published book?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I hope it has improved. I don't know that for a fact it has. I think that one thing I hope I can do better now is differentiate between points of views. Because when I wrote Like a Love Song, it wasn't interesting for me to write a POV from William because I don't think the story would have been as fun. But for Bad at Love, I couldn't write that story without both points of view. So I tried really hard to make them really different in their narrative styles and stuff like that. And I think that has been, that was a challenge for me in the past. I remember before I got my agent, I queried the book that it was an urban fantasy. So, I'm talking about like mid 2010.
Yes.
And in there, I had 4 points of views. And I think they all read exactly the same. So this is a thing that I hope this book does a lot better than I have done in the past, like differentiating, making sure that you really are in different people's heads.
Yeah. I was never like confused. I felt like the voices were very distinct and obviously very different, but distinct.
Yeah. This makes me very happy. Yeah. And the author likes to see that, likes to hear that.
I'm curious, was your urban fantasy in first person? 4 point of views in first person?
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was also a heist story. And I was just trying to do so much at the same time.
That's how it goes. with those first books.
Yeah, exactly with those first books. I think that this is something else that just practice has made me better at. That's just like you don't have to put like every little thing that you love in one book. You can only do so much per book, right? Especially when it comes to genres.
Okay, so another question from YouTube from Sonora Reyes. My question is, who is your favorite character in Bad at Love?
Penny. She's the lead singer of the group of Mischief and Mayhem, and she's a lesbian. And for a good chunk of the book, actually, I don't remember if that stayed in the final version, but at least in earlier drafts, for a good chunk of the book, Daniel thought that she was actually dating one of the other boys. Mm-hmm. And when Penny starts talking about queerness with Daniel, because Daniel is demi, he's like, "Oh, you're queer?" And she's like, "Dude, I'm wearing a lesbian pride pin that I have had like since the first day we met, the first day." So, I love her. I think she's very kind. And I think she has a lot of patience because those 3 boys are children.
Yeah.
So it might not come as a surprise to you that Penny is not aware of the bet. They make this bet behind her back. If she knew of this bet, this plot point would not exist, because she would have, talked to them and been like, you were being so ridiculous.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know. So
she's the voice of reason.
She is the voice of reason. Yeah. I feel like,
and the voice of the group.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like every book needs one character who is like really smart and is mostly ignored so the plot can happen.
Yeah. Otherwise, if all the characters were Penny, there wouldn't be any plot, because everything would go smoothly.
Yeah, no, there would be like 2 chapters. He would sit down and be like, hey, I guess I like you, and also band, can you add this song that is really important to me? And then the book is over, and it's a short story of like maybe 1,000 words. So yeah, definitely not everyone can be Penny.
Not everyone can be Penny. Oh my gosh. Okay, so while we wait, if anyone else has any other questions?
Yes, please ask me questions, especially about music or Brazilian stuff.
Oh yes,
those are my favorite things.
I have a question, because I really loved how, because I do this in XOXO too, where I have a Korean American character who's in Korea, interacting with, characters who are Korean nationals. And so I really loved in your book how you had representation where Daniel is from Brazil, like he's Brazilian, and then you have Sasha, who's Brazilian American, and they have these really great conversations about, the intersectionality of being, Brazilian. There's not, one way to be, assert your own culture. So can you talk more about that? Because I really love that in your book.
Absolutely. So I definitely identify more with Daniel, right? I grew up in the United States. I was 18 when I first left Brazil, when I went to the United States for the first time. And it was a very shocking experience for me, because I am a very fair-skinned person. I had only navigated life as a white person, because in Brazil, I'm white. But then when I was in the United States, and especially because I was with family who looks like me but was born and raised there, I had a very shocking experience of like othering others. Like it was just really bad. I have a cousin who is actually, his name is Daniel as well, but he did not inspire the character. And my cousin Daniel, he is, I think, like maybe 4 years older than me. So he was in college, and he took me to some parties while I stayed there for to meet his friends and people my age. And it was like I was called Mexican slurs in a fond way. I had this girl came up to me and casually mentioned that her dad had been in Buenos Aires before, because she thought Buenos Aires was in Brazil. And, it was just, actually, a lot of those stories made it to my first book as like anecdotes and things that would never happen, but happened. So, it was shocking, but I had never thought of myself as, not white. And I don't feel super comfortable with the label of like person of color, because I think that basically I think that I'm taking away from people that really have entitlement to that word, if that makes sense. But I do not want people, I don't want it to make it seem like people that look like me cannot identify as people of color. That's not it at all. It's just that my experience, I grew up as a white person. I did not face any type of racism growing up. And Daniel, he comes from this context as well. And then he goes to the United States, where suddenly people have a problem with him being Brazilian and with him English not being his first tongue and all of that. And then he's having a conversation with Sasha about his English. And she mentioned something about how, yeah, like she's diaspora. And he's like, what is diaspora? And I remember, I don't know if it was like my agent or my editor or a copy editor that flagged that part and was like, I find it really hard to believe that he has never heard about this term. But like, I had never heard about this term because I only knew other Brazilians, I didn't know, I had never thought about it because it was just not part of my experience. And he has to think about it for the first time that like, one, it doesn't matter whether he accepts the term people of color or not, he's going to have to be prejudiced against anyway. And that there is this whole community that suffers from an entirely different set of problems than him, but that also come from the same place. And that can, like you said in the beginning, like be Brazilian in a different way. Because I think this conversation starts when he asks her where she's from originally. And like, she doesn't know like where her family's from in Brazil, and she doesn't know. And he's like, how do you not know? And she's like, yeah, you're being an asshole. Okay. And he's like, no, I don't know how to navigate this conversation. So it was nice. I think there's a lot to say about colorism in Brazil, but I am not the right person to say it. I think people should definitely turn to Brazilian people of color, people of color who are Brazilian. Does that make sense? Like, especially Black Brazilians, but anybody else but me. I can only like call attention to this issue, but I am from a very privileged position. I should not be like leading this discussion or something. And it's really sad that I cannot point you to someone who has a book published in YA in English and be like, follow this Brazilian voice for this, because at the moment there are 4 of us, and we are all from the southeast of Brazil, that is already a very financially privileged area of Brazil. So, our experiences, of course, every experience is different, but in terms of socioeconomics, I don't think that our experiences are that vastly different. So I am very much hoping for more diversity of Brazilian voices, especially because there are so many Brazilians in the United States.
Yeah.
I talked a lot.
I love that. Actually, that's a great, I actually don't know how long we're going for until, I guess, 4:35. We just go over time if we have to, but
I think Caro can yell at us when it's time to stop.
But actually, that is a good question to lead into what are you reading? Like, do you have recommendations of either Brazilian American authors in YA, or just what you're reading, what you're having fun with right now?
Well, I was just telling you guys before that I am reading the Brazilian translation of this book, but I am super early on. I cannot tell you much about the plot yet, because I do this thing of like, I never read this. I never know what the books I'm reading are actually about. Sometimes I'll be reading and be like, oh, a murder. I thought this was a romance. But it's so it goes. But I do want to recommend a book by a fellow Brazilian. Actually, he has the same last name as me. His name is Vitor Martins. We are not related. That's like the most common last name in Brazil. But he had one of his latest books, Brazilian books, adapted into Portuguese, and it's coming out I read an arc, but either late this year or early next year. The title in Portuguese is Se a Casa Oito Falasse, but in English it became This Is Our Place. I believe it's a house that narrates the story of 3 teenagers in 3 different generations. So one in the 90s, one in the 2000s, and the other, one in 2000, one in 2010, and one in 2020. 3 teenagers living in the same house. The house is the narrator.
That's so cool.
In the end, they are all connected. They are all of the teams and their stories, they are all connected. I love that book, and I have to give a shout out to the translator. Sadly, I don't remember her name now. I think Larissa something, because she managed to translate very Brazilian things into things that will be accessible for Americans, but without like it's still very Brazilian. Larissa Helena, thank you so much, Caro. Yeah, she did a brilliant job, just brilliant. I think that like translators who managed to do this are so cool. Like they're so smart. God, I wish I was that smart. I'm really not. You guys are the best. Yeah.
Wait, so do you read the book both in Portuguese and in English sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes like with this book specifically, I am a subscriber to a book box that had it, like a Brazilian book box, Turista Literário. I'm not paid to recommend them, but I will. They are amazing. And they sent me, it was the book of the month in like, I don't know, May or something. And then I have access to a lot of books through Atlas, and I saw that it was there up for request. I requested, and then I read the arc because I wanted to see like how they translated things.
That's so cool. I mean, because like, I mean, I love that you're for sure bilingual. Do you speak other languages as well? Do you speak?
Well, I speak. You
I
knew
know
this
you're
was
learning
coming.
Korean. Yeah.
I mean, I don't speak Korean the way I speak English. I don't speak any language the way I speak English. Okay, so let's start with that. I can only consider myself fluent in Portuguese and English, but I get by very okay in Norwegian, Spanish, and Italian. I can communicate to some degree in Mandarin and Korean. And I have basic knowledge, but I am studying Japanese and Tagalog.
That is so cool. You need to like Reddit who is like a translator who's like can speak all these different languages, because that's so cool to me.
Yeah, I wish I was. I'm gonna sound like an asshole if I say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I wish I was better at it, because if I think that I scatter my attention through and many things. If I studied just like one language really hard, I would be able to comfortably fluently speak more than just English and Portuguese. But if you don't know Portuguese, yeah, right, so little time. I have to work on like study every single thing. Like I wasn't supposed to start studying Tagalog, but I got approved so I love textbooks. I really do. Like language textbooks. I enjoy them so much. I'm the type of kid who likes doing homework, It's embarrassing, I know. So I got approved for an arc of a Tagalog textbook. And I was like, well, I guess I just gotta start studying it then. And then my friend was like, can you just like not do that? You could like review the book just by like looking at how it's structured. You have worked teaching languages for 10 years. You can figure that out just like leafing through the book. And I'm like, but it seems like a good book. I want to study it. So that's how I started studying Tagalog. I don't regret it. It's a wonderful language.
That's amazing. Okay, so I think we could wrap it up with one last question from Joelle. We have bad at love characters as Brazilian desserts.
I was born for this. Okay. Danielle has to be something that's very different on the inside and the outside. So I think I'm going to go with something that is specifically
take notes.
My region. Like if you are from Minas, you will curse me right now, but pão de queijo with mumu dentro. I mean inside. So pão de queijo and then mumu as a filling. That's just so it's kind of it's bread kind of made of cheese. Like the literal translation would be cheese bread, but cheese bread is something different than pão de queijo. Kind of like a cheese bread with, have you ever had dulce de leche? Dulce de leche, something like that. Okay, so it's that, but the Brazilian version, which we call mumu. I mean, that's a brand, but you know. So mumu on the inside. So it's salty on the outside and very sweet on the inside. And it's just like, I love it so much. So yes, pão de queijo com mumu, that's Daniel. Sasha would be something like a little bitter. Help me out, Brazilians. Well, bergamota, obviously. So bergamota, this is also it's a fruit that's very popular in Korea as well, but I forget the name now. It's like, I forget the name in English. It's like orange, but it's not an orange. And then you take like the little tangerine. It's a kind of tangerine. So, but bergamota specifically, it's a fruit. And it's a little bitter, but that's what makes it good. And some of it is very sweet, but you never know. Like I prefer the bitter ones, but they look exactly the same if they're very sweet or very bitter. And it's kind of like,
I love that.
Good luck figuring it out. You know, like you're gonna have to try it. I went into the other ones. So penny would be churros de com canela em volta, cinnamon around the churros. And again, mumu inside. Very sweet and like reliable. Wade would also have to be a reliable, sweet. Oh, Wade would be like quindim. Quindim is, I don't think you guys have it actually, but he would be quindim with like a toasty coconut underneath, and then it's like eggs and sugar on top. Very good. That's Wade. Sam.
You're so good at this. I'm so hungry.
And I haven't even written my food book yet. I hope to someday. Sam needs to, you know what? Sam is something treacherous but delicious. So I'm going to go with, actually, did you know that Brazilian pizzas are a whole different brand of pizza?
No.
Wow. Okay. So later we need to have like a private conversation about this so I can, like really show you why I'm proud to be Brazilian. But Sam would be pizza, but ice cream pizza. Because that's a real thing in Brazil. So he would be that kind of pizza, not the one with the balls of ice cream, the ones where it's like a thick slice of ice cream, and then it starts melting, and you're like, oh my God, I need to eat it, and then you kind of can't. So yes, he would be ice cream pizza, but vanilla, like it's not that wild. So vanilla flavored. And Claire is not Brazilian, but I need to give her a Brazilian. Oh, you know what? Claire needs to be when you make like a tapioca crepe, but with strawberries inside. So kind of like a pastel de tapioca. How do I say that to Americans? Help me explain this to Axie. Like tapioca. Okay, so that tapioca takes the shape you burn it with, right? So you put it on a frying pan, and then you have like a little, like this of tapioca, and then you put like pieces of strawberry, probably condensed milk a little bit, and then you close it, and then so that's Claire. Very sweet, very reliable, and some tapioca and condensed milk to make it like really Brazilian.
There.
That was an amazing question. Thank you so much, Joey. Make everyone hungry. Come to Brazil to eat desserts.
And meet these characters through desserts.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bad at love. Woo-hoo.
Yeah, that
Yes.
just made me so hungry. I'm like so ready for dessert before dinner. But thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this whole conversation. I loved everyone in the chat. Thank you so much for letting us celebrate this great book with you. And yeah, I'm gonna drop some links, so feel free to get all of their books. There's so many to choose from, and they're all amazing. But yeah, thank you. If you want to support Word Up, definitely check out our website. We're a nonprofit, so any donations, any purchases you make help us in our programming. And yeah, I just want to say thank you again so much. This is amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Caro. You were incredible. Thank you, Axie. You were the best. Please buy all of her books, but especially XOXO because I think that's my favorite. And thank you everyone who showed up. My heart is super full. You are all the best. E muito obrigada para os alunos da Teacher, que isso faz o meu coração encher do tamanho do mundo. E mãe, obrigada também. I love you. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Ciao, ciao.